8 on the nose, right here in Nairobi. Welcome. This is K24 This Morning. My name is Jeff Mote. Hope your weekend has been well. Thanks for making time to be on the show today, of course, as we look at the big issues throughout the weekend. And, of course, setting the tone for the news cycle moving forward. We love it when you're part of the conversation. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote on Twitter or at K24 TV. There's our WhatsApp number also that will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And in case you haven't managed to get yourself a copy of your People Daily, we're making sure you can get it at the touch of a button on the luxury of your phone, wherever you are across this country. And the number that you need, *550 *4#. Once again, the number is *550 *4#. Dial that number. Get yourself a copy of your People Daily, brought to you by the PD and Safaricom. And right here, the PD really is a gift that keeps on giving. I tell you every single time. For the first 10 who download their e-paper, take a screenshot, send it to me with their name and where they're watching from, you get yourself 250 shillings worth of airtime, all courtesy of Safaricom. So fastest finger first on that one. Just take your screenshot, send it to the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen with your name and where you're watching from, and I'll send you 250 shillings worth of airtime, all courtesy of the People Daily and Safaricom. And even as we move forward, we have a question of the day as we set the tone for today's agenda. Let's have it up. Which pillar of the Big Four agenda would yield the most benefit if completed within President Kenyatta's term in office? We're talking about 2 years to go. When you look at the Big Four agenda, what pillar of that, if completed, would yield the most benefit? You can get us as well on the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen, because it's 2 years to go. What really should his administration focus on as he winds up his term in office out of the Big Four? You can give us your comments and your feedback on the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen. Let's look at the front pages of the People of the newspapers this morning, and then get to my panel as we discuss the issues of the day. Front page of the PD, as we said, parents protest at October classes, no money for fees that is likely to be increased, and the unpredictable nature of the COVID-19 disease are making many cagey over prospects of learning resuming next month. Teachers have been told to prepare for an early return. Of course, lots of talk on this. CS Magoha quoted on the front page of the PD, "Let teachers do everything possible to make schools have a good atmosphere for learning. Children will resume learning as soon as possible." Well, there is another stakeholders meeting today, and that really will set a clear picture as to when schools will reopen and what direction they'll take. And you can get that story in your copy of your PD on page 8. Also in your PD, premier position to return, says Raila. So even as we look at matters, COVID, trying to get back a battered economy, there are some who still feel that an expanded executive might be the way forward as far as Kenya is concerned. You can get the details of that on page 6 of the PD. Also in the PD, 6 KEMSA managers fingered for sleaze, of course, after a raid that happened last week. An intense investigation takes place in KEMSA, trying to get to the bottom of the KEMSA scandal. You can get those details as well in your copy of your People Daily this morning. Let's look at the front page of the Daily Nation now. Ruto, the man on a cleansing mission. From launching an anti-graft crusade against his own government to building an altar in his Nairobi home, giving alms and speaking up for the less privileged in the society, the hustler-in-chief is taking the meaning of image is everything to a new level in his bid for the presidency in 2022. Of course, talking about the baggage that has come with allegations of graft weighing him down, DP is remaking his image. That's what the Daily Nation is calling it. And you can find that story as well on page 4 of your Daily Nation. Also on the front page of the Daily Nation, reopening of schools, a nightmare for parents. Talking about the fact that many parents have been caught flat-footed at this particular point in time with the government's new decision. But again, and this, the CS really emphasizing this, the fact that at this particular point in time, no date has been given. And of course, after they meet today with various stakeholders, they'll have a better direction as to when these schools will be reopened. But you can get the details of that story as well in your copy of your Daily Nation. Front page of the Standard, teachers, quote-unquote, back to school this week, says the Standard. Teachers to be recalled to make arrangements for candidates expected in school next month as stakeholders finalize plans to reopen learning institutions. As you can see there, the Standard going forward and giving the next steps as far as this is concerned. Teachers may be recalled as early as Wednesday this week to make arrangements to receive learners. 2020 and 2021 candidates report after a fortnight. The rest of the learners resume for second-term crash program, and the third term to be covered between January and March, and national examinations sat in April next year. We'll get the details of that and a confirmation, of course, on the same later on today as we get the way forward from that particular meeting that we've spoken about time and time again. Also on the front page of the Standard, Ruto and Raila clash over quote-unquote hustler tag and the BBI. You can get that story on page 6. And moving away from matters politics, but an interesting talk when it comes to human nature. You can find this in your copy of your Standard on page 3. Female friends raise male lifespan. Interesting talk right there. Close bonds with opposite sex can have non-romantic benefits, not just for people, but for their primate cousins as well. So you can get that story as well and look at how you can increase your lifespan. It's on page 3 of your Standard this morning. Finally, front page of The Star, the secret CIA and MI6 war in Kenya. Police spokesman terms report malicious and serving certain interests. They're talking about a covert program, a team responsible for capture of high-value terror suspects. You can get the details of that particular story on page 4 and 5 of your Star this morning. So as you can see, that's what you're waking up to this morning. But right here on the show, even as we look at these big stories, we also ask ourselves, 2 years to go, really, what direction do we take as we assess the big 4 so far? Is there anything to write home about? And by the time 2022 comes along, what really should be focused on between now and then? That's the discussion we're having right here. Good morning and welcome to K24 This Morning. Now let me get to my panel in studio this morning. Dennis Anyoka, advocate of the High Court. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Jeff.
Karibu sana. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Asante sana. We also have a youth policy analyst expert as well, Gloria Orua-Babering. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Welcome to the show. And we have Charles Munyui, a governance expert. He'd had a brief hiatus from his Monday slot, but he's back. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, my brother.
Karibu
How are you
sana.
doing, Jeff?
Good, good.
All is well?
Yes, kabisa.
Arsenal, are you Man U?
Let's not go there. Let's talk about national development because for us Manchester United fans,
it's a good morning. Either
it's
way.
been a tough weekend. Karibu sana. Welcome to the show.
Asante sana.
Even as we move past what was a rather traumatic weekend for Manchester United fans, this headline that we're seeing on various papers also giving a bit of more stress as far as parents are concerned. Parents protest October classes resumption. The Standard calling its teachers back to school this week and giving the next steps as far as this is concerned, very elaborate steps right there. Before we get to the issue of the day, I just want you to just give us a feel of what you feel about this, because we are standing at a point where it was very categorical. We have stopped the academic calendar. Let's resume this January 2021. What's the rush now, Dennis?
I think if I were to be very frank in terms of what I'm witnessing in this country and what's happening in the Ministry of Education, there is a bit of disjointed, approach in terms of decision making, in terms of real what the issues are. And when they change the dates the way they want to change them, it shows that really even the closing of school, the basis was not grounded on any real facts. It was more of a decision that was made, that was more populist or out of cowardice or fear. Now, when you look at this and you see what is happening and in the country, I get a feel that probably the Minister of Education is trying to justify the next big scandal in the country, which will be this. I saw a 1.9 something billion,
1.9 billion
desk tender that I have a lot of reservation in the manner in which they are running it, the level of accountability that will come from it. But probably the ministry wants to ensure that people go to school and then they justify that, yes, the money has been spent, people went to school.
Right.
Because really, I don't see, even previously, the education curriculum has always been reviewed because there has been a communication and a feeling that there's a lot of pressure on the student. And how can you take the same pupils under a crash program for a short period of time because now you feel the COVID has flattened a little bit?
Right.
Why can't you then wait for it to end properly so that people go back to class?
Right.
So I think there is a problem, there is a big challenge, and there is more that we are not being told about all this.
Right. Gloria, the Ministry of Health is really talking about the fact that even when you look at the curve, it's not really flattening, it's more or less fluctuating. So even as the Ministry of Education says it's all systems go, we flatten the curve, the Ministry of Health is talking a different story.
By the way, Jeff, if you're using that curve for anything, that's where the problem is, because that curve is a manipulation of Ministry of Health. I don't believe
the data?
I don't believe in it, and I don't actually think those figures are pinned on anything. I think they might be doing some tests, and then there's some direction. Oh, today it has to be 90, tomorrow it has to be 200. I don't believe in that. That is not my baseline for assessing how far we've come with the pandemic. And I think, just like my colleague here said, is at the end of the day, those figures were from the initial point being used for driving different agendas. First, it was to push that we get donations for fighting COVID-19.
So you believe that that was the reason why they were using those figures?
Yes. And then it was to ensure that really the PPE, to manipulate the prices of the PPE in the market. Because, I mean, if it's so high and there's that scare, then, you know, a mask at that time was maybe 2,000 shillings. And then now they are flattening it because they really wanted to push the BB. And by they, this is where now I say the systems, the deep state, or whatever you want to call it. They wanted to push the BBI agenda. And then suddenly, as he said, we need a justification to spend, is it 1.9 billion?
Yes.
On desks. Because of course, if you're, why are you purchasing desks when we are opening school in January? And the other thing is we don't have a resiliency plan. If there's no resiliency plan, you actually don't have a business justification on why you're either shutting down, reopening, because you're doing it based out of reasons that are not necessarily put on a plan on, you know, business continuity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get Charles in on this one as well, even as we move forward, just before we talk about the Big Four and where it stands, Charles, because you look at the front page of the PD, they're talking about 6 KEMSA managers fingered for sleaze. We saw how this worked out as far as the KEMSA scandal was concerned and the opaque nature of procurement in government. Yet here we are with a 1.9 billion shilling tender for desks. Still no transparency as far as this is concerned. Are we just about to repeat another mistake we've just done a couple of weeks ago?
I don't think so. I think let us look at this issue. It's not a local issue. Matters COVID are not Kenyan issues only. And I think the international community has been trying to work on this issue for quite a while now. Everyone is trying to go back to normal. Everyone is doing their best to go back to normal. It's not like Kenya is operating on its own. The World Health Organization is an international organization that is supervising all these things that are going on. So it started with people even claiming there was no COVID in the first instance. Remember those days when these things hit us. We were told it's coming so that we can stop some people from convening and working their politics around 2022. Now, when the government again says it's working, what we put in place is working, things are slowing down a little bit, and you've even seen hospitals that are not really as overwhelmed as they used to be. I think we also need some element of trust because, again, this is the only government we have that can guide us on matters of policy and how to move forward on these issues of this nature. So to me, I think we need to focus on the parents, have an understanding on how kids go back to school without necessarily parents being burdened with matters school fees. No kids should be, by the way, the law is very clear. Basic education is mandatory. So you cannot have kids at home purely because of matters school fees and stuff like that. We should be more focused on issues of, are those kids safe in terms of social distancing? Are they safe in terms of how they operate? What kind of class spacing are we talking about? The moment we go the negative direction, you'll throw in a lot of confusion on matters in as far as parents are concerned, and I think we cannot afford to do that on national television. We need to be careful so that we don't confuse parents more than they are already feeling. Remember, I think the Ministry of Education has largely bungled on this one. They have given conflicting dates as to when this is going to be done. And at some point, it looked like there was competition with the Ministry of Health in terms of daily briefs. And I think that is where we lost it. When Mutahi Kagwa is saying this, the very same day the Minister for Education is also talking about education and giving timelines as to when this is going to happen. And it got to a point where people got tired. And when now he has a firm date, I think it's a question of is this really firm or where are we going? So I think to me we need to focus. We need to tell our parents the truth. We need to remain believing that this is the way it is. And remember, it's not our own issue alone. It's a whole world issue.
Okay, let's switch gears on this one and move forward to where we are right now as far as the Big Four is concerned. Of course, we're looking at things that no one would have planned for, no one would have thought we'd have, a catastrophe like this as far as COVID-19 is concerned. But we are where we are, and in this post-COVID world, when you look at the Big Four agenda right now, we have, food security, we have manufacturing, we have health. What do you feel is the lowest hanging fruit? If you were to talk to President Uhuru Kenyatta right now, from where you stand, Dennis, I know you're a skeptic of the entire Big Four. I can see where this is going. But if he was to salvage this, what should he focus on?
I think seeing what the far we've come, I think the only thing the president can do is to let institutions function the best they can. Let the county governments function, the funds be disbursed on time. Let all the institutions work well. Let the judiciaries be financed well, let it work, let the judicial fund be functional, let us have the IEBC functional, and every constitutional and legislative organ that we have as an institution. I think that is what the president can do. And in doing so, then maybe we can see if the end of the big four agendas can pick its own momentum. Because I do not have faith there is anything that is going to deliver in the remaining period. If you ask me for any reason, then I would tell you, then let him just keep quiet. Let's not mess the economy anymore. Let us not have a government that is messing Kenyans anymore. I've listened to what Charles is saying. And I'm glad that he acknowledges that it is the same ministers, cabinet secretaries who have been giving us conflicting positions. And over time, we Kenyans have lost faith. Right. You cannot then blame Kenyans for feeling there's a problem. We have a scandal after scandal. We have no justification. There's no way you will tell just a Kenyan on the streets that the government is going to address any financial misappropriation in a way that we can recover anything. Right. Going what we have witnessed before. So what we have seen is that a scandal arises, something else comes up, then we have ministers who talk down to Kenyans telling them, you must do this, it must come this way. You try to say this is not correct and you are seen as a politician, you are arrested, no charges are preferred against you, or if you are preferred, it is all, you're wondering what kind of state we are in. Right. We are back into what many people have been termed as the Moi era, when you could not do particular things because then the government will come down on you, the government machinery will ensure it stops you. So I think if I were to meet the president and tell him my peace of mind, I will tell him the only legacy you can leave, because you will not leave any legacy going forward. Already the country has gone into a political mood. Raila Odinga is all over doing campaigns. Ruto is all over doing campaigns. I've seen the president, in convoys. And in a short while, the lower cadre of politicians will follow suit and they'll be doing the same thing. So all he can do is to just try and ensure that the constitutional organs we have set, the legislative agencies that we have in law, they are functional. They are allowed to operate to their optimum. Right. Let the judges be appointed, do not be a stumbling block. Let the DPP operate constitutionally. Let the Attorney General be able to operate without feeling that they have to justify a decision by the government, however illegal it is, or however wrong it is. Then with that, maybe in a year's time, yes, we can say we could be having some level of normalcy.
Gloria, let's break it down and look at the pillars, pillar by pillar. With what we've seen with COVID-19, not only in Kenya, but the world was shown how they largely neglect their healthcare systems, and really this came home to roost. Is this the time that he should put, all resources, universal healthcare, and make sure by 2022, if there's one thing I deliver as a president, it's health? That's
absolutely. In fact, I was just wondering, my colleague is so negative. It's like there's nothing you can do, just be quiet, let things work as they want. No, one of the pillars of the Big Four agenda is actually affordable quality healthcare. And I believe with the pandemic, this is literally the lowest hanging fruit. If you look at what they were promising under affordable healthcare, they were promising that by 2018 they should have gotten at least 1.4 or something million elderly people under the free NHIF care. Then they were going to scale up NHIF and ensure that everybody has access to that. The other thing is that they were trying to push that they will have I think about 37 hospitals. I think it's the level 5. They would equip them, and you saw what happened with the managed equipment services. It became a scandal. So for me, the lowest hanging fruit here is healthcare. And sometimes I always tell people, if it is not your core, if it's not your... See, for instance, I'm a youth policy analyst, and my core is not in the law. My core is not in certain things. So the best way to approach certain issues is to go into these public-private partnerships. Right. Because if your intention is really to give affordable healthcare to everybody, that they can access the hospitals, that they don't need to have a certain amount of money in order for them to go and receive medication or just the services of a healthcare facility. Why don't they partner with institutions? Because I'll tell you, for instance, I know of an institution that has a package where you pay 1,000 per year 1,000 per year gives you access to 50,000 outpatient services, meaning, and the added advantage that they have on that is that you don't have to go to a level 4 or level 5. You can go to those clinics that are certified in the uko kwa kijiji, uko kwa slum. Right. So if the intention really is to give that affordable healthcare, why don't they look at what is in the market? Because there are products in the market. And, you know, government, NHIF has clearly displayed that they don't necessarily have those business modules. They don't have the capacity in terms of IT systems. They've showcased that they really need to partner with other people who this is their core. So for me, if I was to meet the president, I would tell him, you know, you still have room to have a legacy. I actually don't think we have 600 and something days into the next election. Right. You can't just say now you're throwing your hands up and, you know, sasa, you know, nitafanya nini. You can actually, you still have a little bit of time to push particularly for healthcare, because that is the thing that we're dealing with now. You know, now even if you sneeze or you have a flu, you know, you're kind of like, hey, niko na COVID.
True.
Should I go to hospital? I don't have money to go to hospital. Does NHIF cover? NHIF does not cover COVID, you know. So start from there. You have COVID, you don't have a cover that is being spread out today. How can I get this cover? Public, private, what is it called? Yeah, public-private partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get Charles in on this one as well, and let's move to another pillar, Charles. Let's talk about manufacturing. We've had a scenario where regionally we've been losing out to our neighbors. We look at Ethiopia, very many companies, multinationals moving there to set up shop, others leaving here and going there. But also locally, I think even you saw on Twitter, there was an overwhelming sentiment that even during this COVID-19 period, where all countries were trying to see how they can actually boost their manufacturing capacity, we're busy out here celebrating how beds have been made by the youth, instead of, you know, bringing more capacity into this particular issue. How does it deal with this pillar? Is it possible to salvage this before 2022?
I think, Jeff, I'll go a different direction. The Kenyans have been made profiled to believe that the big four are 4 packages that are dropped on your doorsteps. It's like you wait for it, it's coming. The president is going to bring it to your doorstep at some point. The reality is, it's happening as we speak. It's a matter of chewing and walking at the same time. Look at how even our healthcare was tested by COVID-19. Infrastructure-wise, counties were not doing very well, and you've seen capacity being built around that, and that's a provision in the Constitution. The national government is mandated to provide that to help improve on that capacity. It is not as if everyone has gone to sleep, waiting for a certain time so that these things can happen. The national government has really come in strongly to support some of these initiatives by the county government. And remember, and this is a reality, Jeff, all the 4 issues that we are in the 4 top agendas we are talking about, the big 4, they are domiciled in counties. If you look at matters, what you're talking about, industrialization and all that, it is about what is strongly available in each respective county. If you talk about food security, it's agriculture. Agriculture, other than policy, is fully devolved. If you look at health, other than national referral hospitals and policy, again, devolved. So most of these things that we are looking at in isolation and acting as if it is only the president who is supposed to sit back and deliver, that is not the way to go about it. And I think the reality is we need to have a relationship, a better relationship, intergovernmental relationship between the national government and the county government so that this can be delivered. When you're talking about housing, the land belongs to the counties. So, and even the approvals therein, it's about the county government in terms of planning. So we are saying we need a better way of operating. The summit, as it were, should be able to now come together so that if each county, respective county, is supposed to do a certain number of houses through the national government program, then those things are done. Okay. If it's about what you're strong in, what Gilu is doing, what the other person is doing, if it's Nyandarua and they have food, you know, they're agriculturally very strong, the industry they are in should be about that, and it should be worked around the county and the national government so that, you know, in terms of the cost and all that, the national government can come in terms of costs of electricity and taxes and that kind of thing. But ultimately, if those 2 levels of government work as if this is a national government issue that can only be delivered by the national government, then I don't think we are going to go far. And that is where the problem is. Every Kenyan assumes that this is a president's issue to deliver 100% as a package. Wait for it, it's coming. the wrong approach, if you ask me.
Okay, so there's some optimism in the room in terms of what can be done, what can be salvaged, what can be delivered. But I can see, Bwana Dennis, you have a rejoinder on this one.
Yes, I want to pick from where Charles,
Right.
because Charles has laid a very good foundation on issues, but they are tactfully avoided to place where the blame belongs and what really needs to be done. I agree entirely with what he's saying, that this is not, you know, a one-stop measure, or, you know, it's not something that we are waiting and tomorrow it will happen. But Jeff, let's be realistic. 90% of the budget remains with the national government. The Big Four agenda is a creature of the national government, of the Jubilee administration. It is them who came to us and told us, yes, give us a mandate. We had many agendas, but we think we can't deliver in all of them. Now we have 4 main ones we want to deliver. So if at all there's anything that will talk about the legacy as of the president, then we'll start from what he has told us, which is the Big Four agenda. But what is the reality? Look at the healthcare, which Gloria says could be the hanging fruit. Perhaps it is. But what is the reality on the ground? The national government launched a few hospitals to try and, I think they called it, as a test pilot project for the universal healthcare. And that was it. It was a ceremony and that was it. That's where we reached. When COVID came, you cannot relate the universal healthcare program that had been launched then, the level of expansion, and where we are. And as Munyui rightly put it, healthcare is devolved largely. And if it's devolved largely, what has government done to ensure that these county hospitals, county facilities, there is a relationship? Because we have the Intergovernmental Relations Act, which says, which gives, you know, structured way in which governments, these two governments can be able to relate and work and achieve whatever agenda it is. So if national government had, for instance, and I want just to mention this universal healthcare, then we are not seeing practical steps. And that's what I'm saying from where I sit. And many Kenyans who will want to look at it my way, it will be funny if I start imagining that the government will be able to deliver anything, even with the kind of budget that they still have. So the reality is they might not be able to deliver. And if they were to deliver, then they must change by allowing institutions to work. Because for me, that is the easiest way to ensure that we deliver. Even all these other functions will fall in place. Agriculture is devolved. But do we have support structures between national and county government to ensure that we can be able to produce enough and have a surplus to even do value addition or even export elsewhere? Okay. We have a challenge.
Okay, and I will be continuing this conversation, of course, even as we take a short break right here. Of course, we want your feedback on this one as well when it stands at this particular point. 4 pillars, Gloria has said 600 days to go on this. Really, what does the president deliver? What should he actually focus on? If it was one, let's have that question of the day up on screen. Which pillar of the Big Four agenda would yield the most benefit if completed within President Kenyatta's term in office? What do you feel is the one pillar he should focus on, at least by 2022, to have made serious headway on it? There's a WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen. We'd love your thoughts, your feedback on that. Let's have it. Morning K24, manufacturing sector will play an integral part to lives of Kenyans. It will address issues of unemployment among youth, as well as diversify exported products. As a country, we need to move from consuming to manufacturing, to a manufacturing nation. It's my guy watching from County 22. Okay, let's have another one up. I believe manufacturing is crucial for any economy. Not only does it raise employment, but it also boosts the economy. Manufacturing helped build up the US, and the need for domestic manufacturing as opposed to importing is becoming apparent. Njenga Wakongo from Kiambu. Asante sana Bwana Njenga for that. Okay, keep them coming in, of course. The WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen. What pillar of the Big Four should President Uhuru Kenyatta focus on between now and 2022? We'd love your feedback on that. And also, don't forget, you get yourself a copy of your People Daily straight to your phone, courtesy of the PD and Safaricom for only 10 shillings. The number that you dial, *550*4#. We take a short break. We're back with more. This is K24 This Morning.